I thought I will take some time to quickly go over what ECE related profession look like. And then from there, I'm going to just from this huge umbrella, I'm going to slowly narrow down and then to talk about some particular requirement, especially if you are interested in teaching profession. Okay, so are we ready to start? All right, so this is today's agenda. What I think that I will do is I will first show you California career ladders, especially focusing on early childhood or early childhood related training. And then after that, I will spend some time just briefly talk about child development permits. And then after that, I will talk about the post-baccalaureate program. Okay, so the first one, let's look at the California career ladders. So the career options from teaching to, it could be ranging from teaching to policy. But I think perhaps it might be difficult for you to imagine how does it work, to go from teaching to policy. However, when you start thinking about, what kind of skills that you acquired from all the courses that you have taken under this particular major, child development or early childhood education, then it would be easy for you to see the connection. So for example, through our program or any program that offer classes in early childhood education or child development, you will have the opportunity to develop skills, including, for example, classroom management, right? So when you go to, take your fieldwork class, you observe the teacher, you know how they manage the classroom, and you get to see what kind of effective strategies they have when they're interacting with children or, supporting their behavioral or emotional developments. And meanwhile, you can see that for somebody who had the training under early childhood education, you will have to take courses related to assessment, right? So in addition to research method course, you probably have taken observation class, and observation is one key element or one key method that the teacher will use to assess children's developmental outcome. And this will allow them to be quite sensitive to where children are and then how they can create their curriculum in response to children's current needs or current level. Okay, and then meanwhile, of course, once you have that observation skills and then and other research skills, you will be able to conduct whether semi-formal or informal type of study or assessment for young children. And that in some way will really put you on the right path for providing developmentally appropriate practices. In a lot of fieldwork courses or early childhood education, you will have the training in curriculum development and lesson planning. And so this could cover all different subject matters, different areas that could support children's language and literacy, support their social emotional health, and support their cognitive development as well. And we want to make sure that children are learning from a very relaxed, supportive environment, and that is also fun in a way. Okay, and on top of that, by taking all different classes in child development, you certainly would develop amazing critical thinking skills and analysis, so that you can really judge based on whatever information that is given to you, and you can decide accordingly what kind of practices I'm going to provide or what kind of services I should develop, so that you can really respond to the needs of the person, the individual, or the family that you are serving. And of course, you will develop the interpersonal communicative skills, because from time to time, you will have to communicate not only with children, the staff members, your colleague, and your peers, or even your supervisors, right? And you also need to have effective communication with families. Finally, it's the writing skill, where you are going to write the reports, and sometimes to share with the parents, sometimes to generate newsletters to keep the parents updated, or you want to create something as an opportunity to educate parents about different way of engaging children in the intellectual stimulation or learning. Okay, is everything clear so far? Any question?
I don't see any yet. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll let you know. And students, feel free to raise your hand or put your questions in the chat.
Yes, please. All right. So so just to kind of summarize, the skills that I talked about for California early childhood educators, they are expected to develop the following competencies. So for example, you will have a knowledge in child development and learning, right? And then you also need to know how to develop appropriate practice in a culturally responsive way. And that also covers equality issues and equity issues, and then respect the diversity. As I mentioned earlier, your interpersonal communicative skills will help you set your foot on maintaining a positive relationship and interaction and even guidance within that classroom. You will have training in how family and community works and how that collaboration between family and community will come to support individual children's development. We have a class in the dual language development, especially considering the population that we are serving. Majority of the students or children, their first language may not be English. So this is something that we will know how to support them, not only to maintain their mother tongue, but also English language learning as well. As I mentioned earlier, we do have training about observation, assessment, and documentation. All these are important classroom practices simply because you need to use it to determine what is some experience that you are going to bring to the classroom for children. And on top of that, it also serves the purpose of screening, because if there's certain area that we should be concerned about, we might have to inform the teacher, not another teacher, we might have to inform the parents and have them paying attention to certain areas, or even to proceed further to find a specialist for further help. There is one area that we want to touch on, that is early childhood, especially special need in the special needs in early childhood, and then how inclusive environment is important for children who have special needs. And certainly you will have the training in language, the learning environment and curriculum, and also the area that could cover health, safety, and nutrition. Okay. So let me just 1 second. So once you move forward, you will have the opportunity to perhaps manage the program, to do administrative aspect of the early childhood education, and that could lead to leadership, beginning from assistant director, and then slowly taking on more responsibilities. Certainly, the administration aspect will also lead to some type of supervision. So for example, you will have the opportunity to supervise junior teaching staff, and also perhaps staff as well. And of course, professionalism is one of the areas that we would look into, especially the expectation for early childhood educator. Okay. So based on all the skills that you have seen so far, that means that once you go through the series of courses, either with the community colleges or with us, and once you land on early childhood professions, it could open up many different possibilities. So it's very much easier to understand how that could lead to all these type of possibilities, right? So once you have those foundations, you could be in a very good position to become, for example, K through 12 teachers, because you know how to communicate effectively with children, or how to design developmentally appropriate curriculum for your students, right? So the teaching credential could be one area that you pursue. Meanwhile, I know quite a few of our students, whether in the undergraduate level or eventually at the graduate level, they start parting their way towards special ed, and especially when they start having some experience working with children one-on-one, sometimes becoming a behavioral therapist. And so at least I know quite a few of my master's students, they initially was a behavioral therapist for their internship. But then eventually they decided this is the career they are going to pursue. I also see opportunities of becoming home visitors. I think this is something that we learned from our stakeholder about the demands for home visitation programs because they want to establish this really effective program to support families they are serving. So having a home visitor going to the home setting, helping the families to identify what are the strengths they have, what are the current assets they have, and then they can together develop a plan that works for the family to support them and support the development of the children. And so in some way, home visitation could also lead to a parent educator's job, because in this particular position, let's say home visitor, part of your job is to train the parents or provide extra resources and to teach them what is the best way to care for children or to interact with children in a positive manner. Okay, and I have seen students going into the area, whether in hospital setting or in the social work setting, where they do case management. And so they probably have several cases going on that's under their care. And then from there, they are able to conduct their evaluation or assessment. And from there, they are able to refer the family to further resources or services the family would need. I definitely have seen, and in fact, some of our alums have been doing good book projects, so because they have a good understanding about how young children make sense of the world. So when they have a set of knowledge they are quite passionate about, they decided to write up a story and then to share that information with the young readers. So for example, some of our master's students, they even create children's picture book just to teach them or orient them, getting them feeling comfortable, maybe in the hospital setting, in a course setting, or about perception towards, let's say, children with special needs or something. Okay, certainly education consultant is one particular area that I could see our students getting into once you have enough experience in early childhood, because you will become really resourceful, because from time to time when you're doing your job in early childhood, you probably are thinking about, let me see what are different books that could work for the parents, or what are different kind of resources within the communities that is available and that is relevant to the needs of the family. So all these will become pave a really solid foundation for our students to potentially become education consultants. Family support specialists, especially under social work. So I can easily see the connection here. I know that in the social work setting, many people, they will prefer having their staff, especially when they are specialized in early childhood in their undergrad, because they have a really good understanding about children and family and how young children develop. So some of our alum actually have moved on to the social work area after the bachelor's degree. And I can also see our student becoming a program and curriculum coordinator. It depends on different kind of program and their program demands. So for example, sometimes in the children's museum setting, or in some of the schools, they will have the so-called program or curriculum coordinator. This person is more like a liaison among across different classroom teachers. So they might have a same project or theme going on within the entire early childhood program. And then so they will come together to have a meeting with a curriculum coordinator. So the coordinator's job is to look out for opportunities or resources, or to get ready for the materials so they can disseminate across different classrooms for the better development of the curriculum. And finally, of course, early intervention specialist is kind of tied to the special education teacher that I've been talking about. Okay. And some extended opportunities or possibilities will be art therapist. It will be especially useful if you have the early childhood backgrounds or child development knowledge in child development. lawyer, librarian, music therapist. I actually had a friend who was the child development. I think she has the music major, but then she became very interested in how music can help out children. So she decided to pursue her second degree in child development. So now she became a music therapist for young children who experience, psychological trauma. Nurses, especially in the pediatrician units, and physical speech therapy pathologists, all these, especially working with younger clients, I think it's important if they have the knowledge in the area. Okay, we talk about special education teacher. Child life specialist is another area that I can see, although our program has another pathway that is dedicated to child life specialists, but I definitely see the connection, between early training in early childhood and child life specialists, because when you are dealing with younger patients, you have to find a most effective way to interact or communicate with them. So this could be one extended possibility. Certainly, psychologists, psychiatrists, or family counselor, these are the few professions I find relevant when you have the training in early childhood. And finally, professor. So this is one thing I just want to showcase. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier, Professor Ramirez and several part-time faculties in our department, they are our alum. So they probably have completed their bachelor's degree in child development, especially in early childhood concentration. And then slowly they move up, acquire their master's degree, and they know our department culture, and they also have the training to teach at the higher education setting. So eventually they are hired to be our adjunct professor. All right, so any questions so far? Okay.
I do.
All right, go ahead.
So, I see all the like physical therapists and speech pathologists. I would eventually need to get like a second degree, I'm assuming. So it wouldn't just be my child development, it would have to like
Yes.
get like
Yeah, I think that's a
Okay.
wonderful question. Thank you. That's why I say it's extended possibilities. And so you can see, even for social workers, or any kind of specialized profession here, you do need to acquire your additional set of training, or even to be licensed, or even to be certified before you can take on the job. However, I want to say that having the knowledge or training in child development, that definitely is an asset for you, because you have better understanding how to interact with children and family, because you have wonderful set of skills and knowledge to know how to interact or support the family. So I think that's why I say it's an extended possibilities. You do need to acquire additional set of training to either to be certified or to have the license. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. So this is the California Early Learning Career Letters, and I know the font is super small, but this is to say that when you look at this particular, either you call it pyramid or triangle, the bottom one tend to be something at the basic level. That means that you probably have fewer requirements or expectations, and there were some jobs that you can do even with a minimal training in child development. It could be something about, let's say, 6 units, right? And then you could be, let's say, a teaching assistant, etc. The moment you move on further to the top, that means that you probably have to receive a lot more training, such as taking more classes, and have more, much higher level of expectation and requirements in order to be qualified for those jobs. So this is what this particular pyramid or triangle is all about. And I thought I was going to show you the full document of this. However, this particular document has been removed from California, the state website for Department of Education. I think it might be because of the more recent development in early childhood teaching profession. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they have to revise something before they put it back on. But this is just to give you some idea. This was still valid till last year, and this year it was not here anymore. Okay, so for the career lattice level, they kind of divide it up, into 10 levels. And then so you can see that it could be ranging from very basic level profession that will require only minimal units of child development, up until much higher level that requires stricter training and then more intense training for you to get licensed or to be qualified. Okay, so level 2 to 6, it will start with the training and then gradually add on the college level coursework, and that eventually leads to associate degree. So oftentimes we can see that students who complete certain requirements in community colleges, you will fall into this particular range. And these area levels are usually will make you qualify to be teaching staff, and you are able to work directly with children in a childcare setting. And I think this level is somewhat flexible in the sense that it does not necessarily just require you to get a higher degree, because, for example, if you get a master's degree, does it make you automatically qualify to become a center director? The answer is no, right? Because they also want to look at what are some teaching experiences you have and how many years of teaching experience and under adult supervision you have before you can qualify for a center director. I want to say that our students mostly fall under this particular level, which is level 7. This could happen just between your transition from community colleges to a 4-year institution. And this applies to staff working directly with children. And it also represents a milestone when teaching staff and administrator can start considering working for a local agency to support early childhood fields, such as you could be working for the resource and referral agency. For example, I know a lot of Head Start programs were under this type of agencies. So these agencies will be in charge of, let's say, supporting the staff development. They will be also taking care of hiring, and then they could even manage the program and then provide professional development, etc. And meanwhile, you can see that at county level, county office of education is another place that when you reach level 7, this is something that place that you can work, look for a job, or maybe qualify to work in this setting. County First 5 Commission, this is also true. They will look for people who are specialized in early childhood, and so they could work as a staff to either conducting some research, or they could be collaborating with the main researchers to develop the policy or recommendation, and then discussing the appropriate practices. So it's at this level that person can also work as a supervisor if they have completed additional courses in administration or adult supervision to meet certain experience requirements. So this is, for the career lattice at level 7. Level 8 is when you have acquired your bachelor's degree. Once you have your BA, there's a wide range of opportunities or options that you can choose to pursue, your career in early learning fields, such as early learning teaching staff, and it could be in the preschool setting, family care program. You can also, acquire your teaching credential to teach in PK3. This particular one, I'm going to give you a little bit more information about a new possibility in the later slides. Early learning coaches and quality improvement specialists. You can be a trainer, and as I say, you can work in resource and referral county office and First 5. California Department of Education or California Department of Social Services. I do know a few students, they have gone to the social service side rather than the early childhood teaching profession. Okay. Level 9 is for master's degree. As you can see, once you have more acquire higher level of education, this prepare you for much wider range of opportunities in your career. So I'm not going to read all of them, but you can see, including directors, coordinator, trainer, researchers, etc. Okay, level 9. The 9, this is a master's degree level. And did I just repeat? Yeah, this is the same thing. I'm sorry. Somehow I didn't flip the page. Okay, level 10 is a doctoral level. So you could see that if you acquire a doctoral degree, that will make you eligible to apply for a job in a 4-year institution or even, research-oriented universities. You could also become the person who is reviewing and revising, developing public policy. And then you could also be a researcher working either for nonprofit organization. I know, at least from my doctoral program, I have peers who is currently working with the toy company, and so, or even the company that is developing the teaching materials for early childhood. Okay, so when pursuing a college degree, you will receive expert guidance on the courses and programs that you should join. And then, so my suggestion is for you to either talk to your professor and then, or the advisor, academic advisor, about what specialization or what courses you want to choose, and what are the courses that you should take. And if you decide that I'm going to pursue certain profession, understand what kind of requirements are there. So you want to get ready as much as you can before you graduate from school. And then, so if you have any question about, for example, early childhood, and Professor Ramirez is one good candidate to reach out to. And I am another person, and then Dr. Wee is another person, who specializes in early childhood education. So if you specialize in early working with children with special needs or dual language learners, that will require a different set of standards and training. I know there's a particular teaching credential that it has a completely different set of course requirements at the teaching credential program if you want to pursue special ed or dual language learning. Okay, any questions? All right, so next is the child development permits. I have to say first, I'm not an expert in child development permits. I do know some requirements, so I can share that requirement with you. However, if you certainly can come ask me questions, but if I don't know the answer, I will forward the question to somebody who really know, and then we can get your question answered. So for child development permits, the main purpose is to make sure that you have the adequate training before you work with young children, because it's important that you know how to work with young children in a developmentally appropriate way or a culturally responsive way and sensitive to their particular needs. That's why we have this kind of requirements. So the child development permits, you can once you acquire it, you can renew every 5 years. And it has to have 105 hours professional developments in order to keep your permits, still effective. So Commission on Teaching Credentialing is the one that sets the standard for different types of permits. And from my understanding, there are 6 different types of permits. One is at the assistant level, one is associate teacher level, one is the teacher level, then is master teacher. Then after that, you can see, is a site supervisor or program director. Okay. So this is the table that I screenshot from the website, and I'm going to show you the QR code. So if you want to read it more carefully, it has some requirements. So for example, here you can see on the left column, it has the requirement of how many units of child development that you will have to take. And then, and then it also specifies certain content of the courses that you have to take, right? And then after that, you get to see, starting from the third column on the left, fourth column on the left to the right, it has a series of requirements regarding your field experience, like how many hours in the field that you should have and under adult supervision. Okay, so I think most of our students will eventually qualify for teacher level because you will have enough units from early childhood or child development. And then you just have to accumulate enough hours in your field work in order to apply for your teacher permit. Okay, so I know from the website that this is the form that you could fill out on the left-hand side. And I provided this particular QR code for you. Let me see, I know that I have, I'm also going to send you the link through chat. Okay, let me know if you receive it.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. All right. So, so what courses are offered in our program, especially if you are pursuing ECE ECE pathway? As you can see, we have 1400, which is introduction to child development, and especially we focus on from birth until adolescent years. And then we also have a series of other courses, but what has been highlighted or not highlighted, in red, those are the courses. They are the prerequisite for the very last course that you have, which is advanced fieldwork. Although you are not required to complete your advanced fieldwork, which is 4950 in order to graduate. However, 4950 does give you the opportunity to accumulate 135 hours in the field setting. So, so these are a specialized area, especially for early childhood, as you can see, observation technique to study young children and assess them, and then infant development, and then 2200 is the field work class. And then we also have the courses about the program design, where we go over different type of approaches, such as Reggio Emilia, Montessori, high scope, Bank Street, Summerhill. I know there are so many different philosophies, different approaches that people have been using in the early childhood setting. And 2310 is the course that the professor will walk you through different nuts and bolts of how to manage your program, including setting the budget, how to apply for funding to support your program, and then how to manage the program, staff development, all those kind of things. 2500 is a child, family, and community course. And then we have cognition course, social emotional development, language development. And then we also have a few courses that is focusing on parent-child relationship or considering family as a system to support children's development. Okay. And so let's see, if you're interested in taking 4950 and then you feel that, okay, I seem to have most of the courses in the previous slide in red, then feel free to contact me. You can also fill out this survey. Let me also send the link to you. It's a Qualtrics survey that you have to fill out. Once you fill out, you will see what has been missing. And then from my end, when I look at the answers that you have, I will know whether certain courses are still missing, whether you should wait till next semester or you are ready to, just start your fieldwork in 4950. And oftentimes I see students who would take this class almost towards the end of their BA program. Okay, any questions?
Hi, just to
Yes.
clarify, so the child development permit is for anybody who wants to work with young children, no matter what the field is. Like, who has to get that child development permit?
It's mainly in early childhood, like preschool setting or child daycare setting. So
Okay.
let's say if you are working in a different setting, I don't believe you need this particular child development permit if you have if you work in a family child care provider. Is it right? Professor Ramirez, do you know?
To be a childcare provider, I think do they need a permit? That's a good question. I think so. I don't know if Professor Ramirez or maybe Vanessa knows.
Is it to provide care at home, like a home
Yeah,
care?
in home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, because depending if you're going to be licensed by the state, and most of the time you do need to be licensed by the state to get the facility approved. So you would need to have the proper qualifications, including the permit. And if you're going to hire any staff, they also need to have the proper qualifications requirements to the CTC.
Yeah, so at least six units of child development usually is the lowest level.
Probably at the lowest level. Yeah, I think that's correct. I think in the letters, we do show that. But mostly for the rest of the child development permits, all you need, this will allow you to work in the preschool setting. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Any other question before we move forward?
Just to clarify, I know when I was at community college, they also emphasize the child development permits. So, I know you highlighted red courses. Are those red courses, are they a different level of what the community college has transferred over with?
Okay, that's a good question. So if you see any courses that are listed at the 2000 level, right? So on the left-hand side, all these could be offered in the community colleges. So we had this articulation, they will have the equivalent set of courses. Once you have these courses done in community colleges, it's a direct transfer to once you are in Cal State LA. So all those will be counted towards your major. What community college cannot offer is any courses at the 300 level or above, 3000 level or above, because these are the upper division courses.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And
right.
again, some of the lower level permits, like the assistant teacher and associate teacher, you can get with the classes you took at community college.
Exactly.
But then to get the teacher level, having a bachelor's degree will help with that. But when she talks about the permit for 4950, we just mean like to give you the permit to enroll in the class at our
class. Yeah. So it's a different permit I was talking about. Sorry if I misguided you. When I talk about this particular set of requirement, it's basically for you if you are interested in taking this advanced field work. So you will need to have these as prerequisite before you take 4950. And 4950 would be the class where you will spend extensive hours, 9 hours per week approximately, because you have to complete a total of 135 hours. And that will cover both administration of the preschool program and the teaching within the classroom setting. And so the reason I don't want to say encourage, as I mentioned earlier, you do not need this particular course to graduate, to get your BA degree. However, having this course will be helpful because it will allow you to accumulate 135 hours that could be counted towards your qualification for the child development permit. Does that clarify your question?
I think so.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Lowe, I want to make sure we have enough time to get to talk to Vanessa. So hopefully we can wrap up soon.
Yeah, I would do that. So finally, I just want to share something really excited about the, after you get your BA degree, and especially the new program that will be coming up as early as spring 2025. So as you can see, many of our alum, they have eventually gone to different graduate programs, whether in social work, in particular type of specialization, such as special ed or family counseling, or even within our own graduate program. So I don't want to go over any of these, but afterwards, I'm going to share my slides with Dr. Munger, and then Dr. Munger can share with all of you. Okay, so these are just some opportunities that you can think about depending on your interest in the future career. But one thing I do want to talk about is the PK3 Early Childhood Specialist credential. As I said, this is a brand new one, and then we are currently developing the program between College of Education and Department of Child and Family Studies. We have faculties getting together every week, work very rigorously to develop the best program possible. And so that is to, so you can, just to give you a heads up, the requirement is a BA degree. And so of course, you can get any kind of, you can have any kind of major. However, if you are in child development, you also meet the requirement of the second, you also meet the second requirement, which is, the subject matter, which requires you to have understanding in child development or early childhood education. Okay, and so, so what we have in mind for the PK3 credential is, if you have 24 units in child development courses as your major in undergrad, you apply for teaching credential, and then you got in, and then from there it will be 3 semesters where we, for the first semester, we will provide some introductory courses where we set your foot on culturally responsive practices, maybe second language acquisition, and then all the courses will have some field work embedded in those. And then the second semester is aiming to deepen your understanding in child development and then your practices. So we will have a set of courses about language arts, STEM, and then arts and humanities and social studies. And again, it will have some field work associated with it. And then finally, it will be just pure directed teaching experience, and then an additional course that is about learning through play. And then so you will spend extensive amount of time in the field in elementary school setting, teaching PK through 3, and to fulfill your field work requirements. Okay, so here, the clinical hours will require you to have 600 hours. As I say, all those will be spread around all different courses you are taking within that 3 semester teaching credential program. And but the requirement here is you need to have at least 200 hours in preschool setting, another 200 hours in the kindergarten through 3rd grade setting, and then additional 200 hours could be either or. And we also consider, we want to recognize the, people's, especially when they have extensive teaching experience in the early childhood setting. So if you happen to have worked for 6 years or above as a lead teacher, and then you also have a child development permit, then you will qualify to have a 200-hour waiver. So you just need to complete 400 hours that is mentioned on the first point, and then additional 200-hour requirement could be waived. Okay, and so for Cal State LA, we projected to offer hopefully everything goes well, then it will become available in spring 2025. And then for other campuses, based on my last meeting with other campuses, they will be offering ranging from fall 2024 to fall 2025. Any question?
And I put in the chat, we are going to do an information session or a What's Your Path Wednesday on that topic, this new credential, sort of a little bit of a preview of what you can do to prepare for it if you're interested. The biggest advantage of this credential is that you get to work in the K through 12 districts, and you get paid a lot more money. So it's an exciting opportunity, and we're going to be doing a session on that May 3rd. What's Your Path Wednesday, May 3rd.
Okay, I see a question about Cal State. Which campus will offer it in fall 2024? I believe it's a Sacramento, but I'm not 100% sure, because they seem to be mostly ready to offer it.
There may be private schools also
yes,
that might be offering it as well, not CSUs as so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lowe. If anyone has any questions, ylow2@calstate.la. Thank you so much for this. And you can also keep putting them in the chat. And now we want to introduce our alum, who is Vanessa Perez. Let's see.
Okay, can you see?
Thank you.
Hi,
Very
Vanessa. Welcome.
Oh, sorry, I was
There
blocking.
she is. She was a child development bachelor. She got her bachelor's in child development from Cal State LA, and she is now working at the Anna Bing. And Dr. Munger is going to be leading a Q&A with her. And if you have any questions, you can also put them in the chat as well. So thank you. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to join you.
It's so awesome that you're here, Vanessa. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to come and chat with us a little bit about your background and your experiences and what, you know, being in this career path has been like for you, and your insights for other folks too. So our first question is, you know, if you could describe a little bit about your educational and employment journey.
So I started off back at Cal State LA in 2011 as a criminal justice major. I had always been set on in the field of criminal justice, and I finally took my first child development course with Dr. Fellini, which was Child Development 140, which was the diversity course. And ever since it just took the one course for me to fall in love, because I just kept asking more, like why and how and really. And I think it was just that openness of there's more and you dig deeper. So I just kept going, and I ended up switching over about my mid-sophomore year of my criminal justice career, and I don't regret it one bit. After that movement, I knew I wanted to do child development, but I wasn't sure what it entailed. And so I went with what I thought I really wanted to do, was to teach. So I went with the option 2. And during that time, the department offered the blended program. So I was actually able to do the multiple subject portion along with my BA, and complete that. And that was just an opportunity, I think, that within itself opened up so many doors, because where I did my practicum hours was at the Anna Bing Arnold Children's Center. So that sort of tied into how I got hired at the Anna Bing Arnold Children's Center. Being a practicum student, actually having Dr. Lowe as my professor and doing that 2200 course, I believe, with her, was a huge eye-opening, important aspect into me wanting to be in early childhood education. So it just sparked from there on out so I guess my educational and employment journey sort of intertwine with one another. I continued going to the center and I became a teacher assistant. And as soon as you finish your bachelor's degree, they sort of push you to use your degree, so they don't allow you to stay. And I was left with, well, what do? I really want to work at this center. And fortunately, a position opened up for me to be a substitute teacher. So they kept me on a little bit longer. And then in that moment, I knew I wanted to go back to school. So I ended up reapplying for the ECE through the Chartered College of Education. And it was like the dream come true for me. I was getting my master's degree in early childhood education, and I was now a full-time teacher, and then COVID hit. So it really just dropped everything. I mean, we were laid off in July, and I knew I wanted to continue. So I started researching, and then 18 months later, when everything started reopening, so did the center, and I got the call back, and my dreams have just been continuing to fall into place. I became a master teacher and recently just got promoted to preschool program coordinator. So I'm looking forward to that position, but I think, yeah, my educational and employment journey really intertwined with one another, so.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations on your promotion. That's fantastic. So I heard a couple things. Okay, so one was that something just sort of like sparked for you, like whenever you were in 1400, there was like the content was just really resonating with you. Is there something in specific, like in particular, specifically that like you were just like, oh, this is so interesting?
I think it was more very personal because I was pregnant at the time with my daughter. So I know they talked about like conception and like the whole lifespan. And I just wanted to know more. And I was like, I have a little baby growing inside of me now, going through that journey along with her at the time. And every class I took was the major milestone, moving along the program. So my daughter moved along with me, and she was sort of like, I call her my little guinea pig, just sort of seeing like what I'm learning and how I can adapt it as a new parent. It was a great journey, but I think I always had the wonder of how do we learn, and what point of your life do you start being impacted on the choices that you make and the reason you make day-to-day decisions. And I think it was really Dr. Fellini who, explained how it starts from the beginning. It starts at conception. It starts with the moment you're out and the womb, and everything's just like all these neurons start firing and it was just like, wow, there's my answer, but I want to know more. I want to know, why do children think the way they do? Or why is it important for us to show them the social emotional? Why is it important for us to be their first educators, the first caregivers, the first people that, really influence that who they're going to be as an adult, and how important that is. So for me, I think that was like my purpose, like why, and my wonder of, well, what can I do? Not only for my child, but now it's like that aspect of, well, what can I give back to my community in that sense? So.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome. And I'm sure like a lot of folks can really relate to that too, whether they're parents or whether they're, just like you said, like interested in that why.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I heard you say that I think is really interesting and worth sort of going back to maybe is the connections that you made when you were in undergrad. Helped to kind of propel you forward in your career. Is there anything particular in terms of like mentorship or networking that you feel like or experience that was like really helpful?
Definitely. I joined the Child Development Association, and then I also joined Pathways to Graduation, which, coming into a whole different program, not knowing what to do, just having that mentor be there for me and just hearing me out, and then just all this different guidance, I think really opened up the opportunity to go out and put myself forward and say, hi, I'm Vanessa, nice to meet you, and this is what I want to do, and I want to know what you think, and just getting the different perspectives on the different styles of teaching there is, and at the different levels. And I think that was an amazing way to sort of bring all these amazing minds and teaching minds, and what do we want to do about moving forward in the teaching, in our journey of teaching. But I think just learning from one another and having that support of, you're not alone, you're not doing the wrong thing, we're all learning together, really set like this comfort in me, that knowing that I can reach out to anyone in the department really, and seek any advice if I'm confused or I'm not sure what's the best route for me to choose. I really want to do primary, but I really want to do early ed. I think is just having that opportunity to have that community really made me feel safe and comfortable. So
I love that. That reminds me of attachment theory, the relationships that you formed and the connections that you made were kind of like the safe space from which you could explore the world. And I love that so much. That's awesome. Very cool. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next question, which is, if it decides to go, there we go. What does a typical day look like for you at work?
So, just do the opening. If I'm opening for the day, my day starts at 7 in the morning because our center does open at 7:30. And it's just preparing the day on different experiences or provocations for the children that they have been showing interest on. We do base our curriculum on the constructivist approach. So we are focusing on the interests of children. So as you can imagine, that changes almost daily. But it's the fun, it's the, what am I going to do today and what's going to work? And if it doesn't work, how can I adapt to it? But it's just setting up that foundation for exploration. So I have an amazing time doing that. And then once 7:30 hits, family starts coming in. And that goes till about 9 o'clock when then breakfast is being served. And during that time, we like to do a family sitting. So we do sit with the children. We have a little bit of breakfast with them, get to see how their morning is doing, talk to any parents, just to see of any insight that they might give us on how their child's morning might be going. I also ask parents, how's your morning going? Because sometimes it can be a rough time. Sometimes it has to be a quick drop off, but just like to give parents also that comfort of, I not only care about your children, but I care about you as well. And then soon after breakfast, we transition to outdoor play. I'm a big outdoor person. I love being outdoors. So if we can, we're outside for about 2 hours in the morning. And that's just through 2 different yards that we have at our center. We're very fortunate. And then it's lunchtime, downtime, which is rest time. And then about at 2:30, 3 o'clock, we start up again, setting new explorations. And then during that time, children start departing. And that pretty much sums it. But anytime that we can be outside, I will be outside. Except today, it was pretty cold and windy. But sometimes I'm like, just bring an extra jacket and we can still explore our beautiful garden that we have. So it's a very fast-paced day.
Yeah, and it sounds like you also get to kind of like explore along with the children because of the constructivist approach, like you mentioned. Like you're kind of like along for the ride in a way.
Yeah, and it's fun because sometimes if you ask some questions and they're just looking at me like, you don't know? And because I mean, even as adults, we do know the answer to the question. I sort of like to just say like, I don't know, what do you think? And then they give me an answer. I'm like, really? And so it just brings on a conversation where it's endless and you just see the creativity working in their minds. And I'm like, okay, I got to work off of this. How can I spark their next interest? So it keeps me on my toes. And some of the responses I just roll, I'm just dying in laughter because, children really do see the way that they think. And it's just like, wow, I never even thought of it that way. And even as an adult, it makes you gain a sense of wonder yourself. And, it's okay to ask why, and it's okay to continue that wonder even into adulthood. So I think definitely working in this setting gives me more of a reason to go out and say, why? I wonder how that works. And even if I don't know the answer, I think it's made me become more open to asking questions and giving me the confidence to say, I don't know, like, what can you tell me about it? Or what is there more that I can learn? So
I love that so much. It's like reciprocal learning. The students are learning a bunch of stuff from you. And then, you mentioned like the confidence and the openness and the sense of wonder. And I think that's just really generative. That's fantastic. Awesome. Very cool. Okay, let's roll along. We're going to hit the next question here. Okay, so what parts of this career are challenging? What are some of the challenges that folks might encounter in this field?
Well, I think, I hate to say it, but it's gonna definitely be financially. There isn't, I tell my husband and my family, I don't do this because I'm gonna become a millionaire one day. I really do it because I enjoy, but because there is low amount of pay, and I think it burns a lot of teachers out, just even trying to make ends meet. We're in an industry where we're not fully appreciated, I feel, even though we can get a million Starbucks gift cards and chocolate and all that. But I think it's really just having the necessity of basic living, not having to worry about it. It can be challenging as well, but I think, if you have a good team, if you have a strong, I think, supervising administration team who's willing to go above and beyond and help you look for grants and help you look, it's an amazing thing to have. But I know not every center is as fortunate as myself or any other centers are. But besides I feel like the obvious one would be, I think for me, it's the traditional way of thinking about a daycare or childcare program. I do get parents who are, just like, oh, well, they're just playing and they're just doing arts and crafts. They're not really learning. Or I get the other side of the spectrum of when are they doing ABCs and, where are the worksheets and where's the homework? And it's just really trying to step away from our traditional thinking of education and really showing them the importance of why what we do at our center, what I do as an educator is important, because it is setting up your children to succeed. and a social and emotional perspective that they might not get when they get to the primary educational level. So I think that's very important to me, where being able to sort of reverse that thought process can be difficult, because you will have some parents who disagree, and you have to live with that decision of theirs. But and it's taken that, I guess, that perspective, and really try to not change it, but really just try to work with them and sort of show them that you can do both. But really, children are always going to be happier when they are playing and when they're learning through play. And sometimes it just takes that one opportunity that you can show them. And I like to do a lot of video or photography, just to show parents, like, this is the proof, look how happy your children are. And then they gain all this knowledge through that play. So it's highly important. But I think it's just trying to reverse the narrative on what we ECE educators are really there for. And we're not babysitters, we are educators. So
absolutely. And I, just listening to you speak, the parent education aspect of it, and being able to build goodwill with parents, and to kind of get them on board with everything, like that seems like its own specific skill set that you have to utilize on, like, it sounds like a pretty regular basis. And so that's really interesting too. Like, I'm thinking about like the family life education courses and things like that, and how that could be relevant to to the career path too. And then, you mentioned like the burnout piece, and we have a question later about like advice and things, and maybe we can come back to that, or we can maybe put a pin in that and circle back whenever we get to that question too. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so the next question is like the flip side of this, which is, and I think you've talked about this a little bit, but what are the best or most rewarding parts of this career?
I think everything about this career is rewarding. I mean, I can honestly and pure-heartedly say I enjoy and love what I do, working with families, working with children. I'm happy that I had this opportunity. But I think it's just seeing children learn from the basic moments and development portions of it, that, there sort of are your, not your testimony, but your proof that what you do is working. When you hear children, check on a friend who fell and show empathy, or you hear them say please, or you hear a child stand up to another child and say what you're saying is not okay, that hurt their feelings, and them actually having that understanding. And I think it's just becoming socially and emotionally aware of that is so important. And I think that for me is the most rewarding portion of my career, because it does tell me, and it shows our community, their parents, that they're going to be ready to go out into traditional school settings and know what it is to work with others collaboratively, show leadership, know how to problem solve, and giving all those tools already at 4 and 5 years old. That's an amazing I think tools to have in your toolbox, because I can say I've worked with adults where I'm like, you didn't really get that portion of education, and that's okay. But it just shows, that's why maybe I feel like some people, I like to say my husband, sometimes really has a form of not communicating well. I'm like, you got to be able to communicate. We have to be able to talk. And I think that was my wonder. It's what is it that we learn when we're younger? How does that follow us through life? And I think is sometimes we maybe just didn't get the tools. I know I didn't get certain tools when I was younger because, of your family lifestyle or your culture or your own community. But I think it's even giving children the opportunity to learn the basics, to learn how that they can probably use those tools, such as collaboration, communication, problem solving, creativity, and curiosity, just even giving them that small snippets of them being at our center or in my classroom really does provide them at least a step into the direction of how can I be a better person? How can I show empathy? How can I, problem solve and collaborate with others, rather than just not knowing it at all. So.
Totally. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. It's like you're like kind of like helping with like building the foundation for later, and helping like, you know, like from this very little point, helping people to reach their full potential, or to not like to fully develop, like you said, like the communication skills and the confidence and those things that, you know, will help with all of the other things later, which is fantastic. Awesome. Thank you. So the next question. Okay, so this is a three-parter, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
So you already mentioned that you completed your master's in early childhood education from the, I guess it's formerly Charter School of Education. Now it's the College of Education. I keep getting that mixed up. So a few follow-up questions. Did you, and I think you already answered this, so sorry, but just so you know, get it on record. So did you also enter or complete the multiple subject credential program?
I did. So I did it with the blended program through child development. The only thing I did not complete was student teaching, because I did get accepted into the master's program. So it was like, which one do I do? And I think I just went, when I went with the master's, I was like, there's no looking back. I do not want to do primary. So I think my mind was made pretty much up at that point.
Totally. And you only have so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
So how did your master's classes compare to your child development, like undergraduate classes? Because I know a lot of folks are, you know, maybe interested in going to grad school, but maybe felt like a little bit nervous or, you know, intimidated by that. But like, what was that experience like?
I enjoyed the master's program. It was an amazing way to really collaborate and work with so many teachers in different areas of ECE, because we all come back from different backgrounds. In the sense, you know, I come from a Reggio inspired center, and there are different Montessori, there's Head Start, so really you're getting all these different perspectives of teaching into one room. And it's not to say one is better than the other, but it is really just to say, like, how can we as a ECE community get our message across, and what can I learn from you and what can you learn from me, and really is just build this strength in ECE and show the importance of it. The one thing I loved about child development was the experience that I was able to get, rather than during the master program. We really didn't go into schools. We didn't really do any like observations or anything like that. It was really more of like collaborative group work, more on the administration, more on research designs, more on curriculum planning. Whereas in child development, I just felt like that's where I was able to step into a classroom and really see for my eyes and get that in-person feeling of what it is to be in a classroom. And I think that's very important, especially in child development as an undergrad, because you want to see what it is to be in a classroom. And although sometimes it sounds, you know, you see it in movies, you see it in pictures and the nice classroom. I always like to think of Toy Story, when number 3, when they walk into the first preschool classroom and they're all using their toys so nice. And then you see the toddler room and they're like, wait a minute, it can be like that sometimes. We have this idea of preschool, but it's not always realistically, it's not like that. So I think it's having that opportunity to really get a perspective before knowing what you're going to jump into, really helped me understand, is this what the choice I really want to do? So I think in a master's program, you're sort of in it already and might want to take a different direction. But I think really, I love the child development. I loved being in there, stepping my foot inside, really trying to see what worked and what didn't, and if it's really what I wanted to do. So yeah,
That's fantastic. So it sounds like between the two, it sounds like you probably got like a very like comprehensive picture of all the things. So like for the undergrad, it was, you know, practical pieces and like general like foundational content knowledge. And then for the master's degree, it was, you know, the administrative pieces, understanding research. So you kind of got like this really holistic perspective by the time you were all done. And also Toy Story 3, oh my gosh, that's just that movie just that and Coco, like yeah. As soon as it starts, you know, the movie starts, I'm already crying. Oh, awesome. So and I think you mentioned this already, but just to touch on it again, what made you choose ECE over K-12?
I think just moving away from the traditional school setting, it wasn't, I'm a very organized person. So I felt like that was my calling. I love to teach, and I'm very organized. I used to play when I was younger, but I think, again, having that opportunity to see the younger side really opened my eyes to the importance. Of course, children are going to learn their ABCs, their 1, 2, 3s, all the foundational work that there is to standardization and, the basics. But I just felt like, what opportunity do I really have to make an impact on the social, emotional aspect, the early development aspect of it? Can I make a difference in that, in a primary level where I have 30 children to one teacher? Or can I do that in a smaller setting where maybe I could make a difference, even if it's just with, one group of children? And I think what really pulled me away was the Lakeshore displays. I never really enjoyed the brights, the colors, but I really wanted to be in an environment where children felt safe, where they felt like they were at home, and creating that environment through the Reggio inspired approach at our center allowed me to bring in those soft touches where it's not just, subtraction, addition, not multiplication, but ABCs and that standardized portion of it. It's just really encompassing making children feel safe, making children want to come to school and learn through not just shiny and bright lighted toys, but really to use their creativity, use their thinking, the problem solving skills on how to build a building, and bringing in the environment, our outdoors, into the classroom, and letting kids be kids. And I think it's to me, it's just so important to have that aspect, that we don't need to lower standardizations to TK and kindergarten, because they're still learning how to grow and they're still developing those problem solving skills. But I think it's having an environment such as our center really provides children a safe place that they can do those and explore, and know that there's teachers who will help them explore who they are and how to work in an environment with other children, and before heading off to a different primary education. So I really enjoy working with that aspect. And I think really also is being able to work with someone who might not essentially agree with your style of teaching, but that you're able to work together and communicate. So I do have a teacher who actually went through the program as well. Her name is Inez Torres. She might be working with a couple professors right now, but she is my co-lead. And I think we're like yin and yang. We worked really well. We bounced ideas off each other. I've learned so much through her. And I think it's just being able to work with somebody and have somebody who, can help support you and you support them, helps with burnout as well. Because now I think of it, I'm like, I don't know how I would do it, especially with the staff shortage in schools. And I just don't know. I give it to anybody who's working in primary education, because it's really hard at the moment. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And you even kind of got a little bit to the next question, which was, given what you know now, what advice would you give undergraduate students, especially like folks who are child development majors who want to get into the field? And it seems like one piece is already like, develop your relationships, find your people.
Yeah. And I think and be open to learning. I mean, I don't feel like as teachers, we ever stop learning. And especially if you're going to get into this field, knowing that you're going to be learning every single day. You learn to work with different families, that trajectories you learn with different children, and you're just learning through different mentors and other teachers. And I just think if you're open and you're willing to work in a very fast-paced environment, but a very fun environment where you really will, I feel like, can make a difference, and just enjoy it along the ride. I know we sometimes it can be difficult to have fun all the time, but I think even if you take away just the littlest moment, can really just change your whole day's perspective. It's something I like to do even with my classwork. It's just find one thing that just gave you a little light, or one thing that you just want to take away. And like for me today, I can say my one little light was one of my children found a plane in the air, and the pure joy that he had in his face because the clouds were moving in. He had been looking for a plane all day and didn't find one until he finally did. And I think it's just being like for me, I just threw patience out there. So I think it's enjoy the little moments and always be wondering about where you can move next. And like I said, it's always a pleasure to come back and talk about it. And I just hope I help everyone. I'm just always excited about talking about what I do.
Oh my God. Yeah, this was awesome. And also you have some fans in the chat.
Oh, I know. I see one of our parents highlighting.